I stepped up to the counter, my hands gripping my bag tighter than I realized. "Excuse me, sir," I said, keeping my voice calm. "I just need to return this." Greg glanced at me, his eyes narrowing. "Do you have a receipt?" His tone had that sharp edge, the one that always set my skin on fire. "Yes," I said, holding it out right here. He waved his hand dismissively. "Hold on, we have a line." I raised an eyebrow, forcing my voice to stay steady. "I'm aware. It's my turn. I've been waiting like everyone else." His smirk was slow, deliberate, like he was enjoying the irritation he was causing. "You think rules apply to you?" he asked, voice dripping with condescension. I felt my stomach twist. "Rules apply to everyone, don't they? Watch yourself," he muttered under his breath, but loud enough for me to hear. I clenched my fists. "I don't need warnings from someone like you." The murmur behind me grew. I heard one woman whisper, "I can't believe he hit her." My head snapped to see who had said it, and Greg took the opportunity to lean closer, his face twisting into a sneer. Before I could respond, his hand shot out. The slap landed hard across my cheek, sharp enough to sting my ears. I froze, fingers gripping the counter like it was the only thing keeping me upright. "Did you really just do that?" I spat, my voice a mix of disbelief and rage. He leaned back, shrugging, as if it were nothing. "Watch yourself," he repeated, the words a taunt now. I felt the heat rise to my face, but not from Shamonga, pure simmering anger. I wanted to yell, to demand justice right there, but I forced myself to breathe, to think. Someone behind me muttered, "I can't believe he hit her." And it wasn't just disbelief, it was outrage. A chorus of murmurs spread, snippets of shock and anger weaving through the small crowd gathering around. I pressed my palm to my cheek, tasting the sting, and realized this was more than a moment of violence. This was him trying to assert power, to make me feel small because of the color of my skin. But I wouldn't give him that satisfaction. "Not today. I want your name," I said, my voice steady despite the tremor inside. "Every last detail. I'll make sure someone knows exactly who you are." Greg's smirk faltered slightly. "You're overreacting," he muttered, though his jaw tightened. "I think you underestimated me," I said, letting my words hang in the air like a challenge. The crowd shifted, whispers growing louder. Eyes flicked between us, some sympathetic, some angry, and noticed a young man recording the scene on his phone. "Good, let them see." Greg looked around, realizing this wasn't just a private exchange anymore. His arrogance wavered, if only slightly. I took a deep breath. "This isn't the last you'll hear from me." And in that moment, even as my cheek burned, I felt a flicker of power. I wouldn't let him define this encounter. Not him, not anyone. Line moved forward, people murmuring behind me, but my eyes stayed fixed on him, cataloging every smug twitch, every attempt at dominance. I would remember this. I would act. And when I did, no one, especially not Greg, would ever see me as weak again. I found Lisa by the cafe corner, her brow furrowed as if she already knew what had happened. "People think I'll just let it slide," I muttered, leaning close so only she could hear. My voice shook just enough to betray the anger I was holding in. Lisa's eyes darkened. "He won't get away with this, not in this town." I let out a bitter laugh, low and sharp. "Do you know how many times I've been dismissed like that? Pushed aside, ignored, told I was overreacting just because of my skin? Too many," she said softly, gripping my hand. "But this was public. Everyone saw it." I nodded, my chest tight. "Exactly, everyone saw it. And yet, it's like they already expect me to walk away quietly, like I'm supposed to pretend it didn't happen." A young woman at the next table leaned over to her friend. "You saw that he just slapped her." I caught their eyes for a moment. They looked ashamed, whispering to each other, but not stepping in. I wanted to scream at them, to say something, to acknowledge it, but I forced my hands to unclench and my voice to stay steady. Lisa lowered her voice even more. "Let them whisper, let them talk. Every one of those murmurs works for us if we use them, right?" I blinked at her. "Use them how?" "Every person who repeats it is a witness," she said. "Every message, every shocked look, it adds weight. People like him, he can't hide forever." I chewed on her words. My mind raced, turning over strategies. "So, this exposure," I whispered, "it could be the first step. First step toward making sure he never thinks he can do this again." "Exactly," Lisa said. "And you're the one who decides how it ends." I felt the fire return, hot and precise, a sharp contrast to the sting on my cheek that still lingered. "I'm not just going to react," I said. "I'm going to make him feel the full truth of what he did. Quietly, methodically, publicly if I have to." A man at the next table murmured to his companion, "Did you hear? That guy slapped her." "I can't believe it." I let my gaze sweep the room. Each whisper, each glance, each gasp, it all counted. Each piece was a seed of awareness, growing into accountability. Lisa squeezed my hand. "This is bigger than just anger. This is about showing him and everyone else that you won't be silenced. That's power." I inhaled slowly. I've always known what he did wasn't just personal. It's the whole system. But seeing it here, in front of everyone, my voice faltered for a moment, heavy with remembered indignities. It stings more than I thought it would. Good, Lisa said quietly. Use that sting. Let it sharpen your focus. That's what keeps them from getting away with it. I let the words sink in, feeling both the pain and the clarity settle in my chest, each whispered retelling. Every shocked glance from strangers. It was all part of the stage I was beginning to set, and I was ready to gossip spread like wildfire. Snippets floated toward me. Did you see that? I can't believe he did that to her. What kind of manager thinks he can treat someone like that? I imagined each voice carrying my message before I even spoke it. He cannot dismiss me. He cannot erase this. I would make sure of it. By the time I left the cafe, my mind was alive with plans. Not with rage alone, but with intention, with strategy, with the simmering satisfaction of knowing that every whisper, every remark was a brick in the wall I was building around him, a wall that would make him accountable, publicly and irrevocably. I kept my head high as I walked down the street. The murmurs, the gossip, the astonished glances, they were no longer just background noise. They were my allies, and I would turn them into a force he could never ignore. My anger was no longer just pain. It was power, waiting to be unleashed. I closed the door behind me, the faint click echoing louder than it should. Derek was already pacing, hands stuffed in his pockets. You okay? He asked, glancing at me. I shook my head slightly, forcing a calm I didn't entirely feel. I'm not here to beg, I said, letting the words land between us. Derek stopped and raised an eyebrow. So, you'll confront him publicly? Yes, I said, voice steady, but on my terms. He frowned, unsure. This isn't just a slap. It's the way he tried to erase you. You need to be careful. I leaned back against the wall, folding my arms. Careful doesn't fix anything. Careful lets people like him keep thinking they're untouchable. I want him to see me, really see me. Not just my color, not just a customer he can intimidate. Naya, sitting on the couch with her hands clasped, spoke up softly. You've always known your worth. Don't let anyone, especially him, make you doubt it. I looked at her, taking in her steady gaze. I haven't, I admitted, but seeing him, hearing him dismiss me like that, it's one thing in my mind, another in front of people. I want it to hurt where it counts. Derek rubbed his chin. So, legal action first, then the public confrontation. I shook my head. No, it's all part of the same move. Everything aligned. Witnesses, messages, public exposure. He thinks he's untouchable. But every detail, every person who saw it works for me if I play it right. Nia's eyes glinted with pride. You're calm, even now. You're already plotting. And that's exactly what makes you dangerous to him. I let out a short laugh, bitter but controlled. Dangerous is a nice way to put it. I just want accountability. He needs to feel the reality of his actions. I won't yell, I won't beg. I'll just show him who I am and what he tried to overlook. Derek leaned forward, urgency creeping into his voice. Amara, think about the timing. You need it precise. One misstep, and it's all gone. I know, I said, feeling the weight of it settle on my shoulders. Timing is everything. Every whisper, every witness, every message is a chess piece. I'm not moving until the board is set perfectly. Naya reached out, touching my arm. You've always been strategic. You didn't get this far by panicking. Remember that? Remember, I whispered. My mind raced, envisioning the confrontation. Greg's smug expression, the disbelief on his face when reality hits. I could see the moment clearly. Every detail mattered. Derek nodded slowly. And you'll handle it with control. betsuredge.com/collected. Uncheckable. He won't see it coming until it's too late. I felt a surge of determination, tighten my chest. Exactly, he can't intimidate me. He won't erase me, and when the time comes, everyone will know exactly who I am and exactly what he did. Naya smiled softly. You're ready. You've always been ready. I exhaled slowly, letting the tension drain from my body, but the fire remained. This wasn't just planning. This was preparation for justice. I would reveal him for what he was, but more importantly, I would reveal myself and no one would ever doubt me again. And one more thing, I added, eyes flicking to Derek. When this is done, I want him to feel the weight of every single person who witnessed it. Not just me, everyone. Derek nodded, understanding. Then let's make sure nothing is left to chance. I smiled faintly, a quiet, controlled smile. Nothing. My mind already moved forward, calculating every step, every word, every glance. This was no longer about anger, it was about power, strategy, and the truth finally coming to light. And I was ready to deliver it. I pushed open the glass door, my heels clicking against the polished floor. The air felt heavier than usual, tense, as if the store itself sensed what was coming. I spotted Greg immediately, standing behind the counter, that smug smirk playing on his face like he owned the place. He thought this was just another woman to push around. I asked, my voice low but sharp. Greg blinked, a flicker of annoyance crossing his features. You, what can you do? His laugh was hollow, forced. I stepped closer, keeping my tone calm, almost casual. I can do a lot more than you think. People see everything, they remember everything. A customer nearby muttered, who is she really? And another nodded in agreement. The whispers traveled fast, eyes following me, anticipation buzzing in the air. Greg's smirk faltered. You're overreacting, he said, his voice tight now. Am I countered. Or are you underestimating me? Because that's been your problem all along. I could see his fingers tighten around the counter edge. Careful, he hissed, trying to regain control. I tilted my head slightly, studying him. Careful. I've been careful my whole life, letting people like you think your arrogance could intimidate me. But today isn't about fear, it's about accountability. His jaw tightened, and I noticed the first tremor in his voice. Accountability. For what? This is just a misunderstanding. I laughed softly, almost bitterly. A misunderstanding. You slapped me in front of witnesses. Do you think that's a misunderstanding? Or do you think your position makes it okay to demean someone because of their skin? The security guard shifted uncomfortably, glancing between us. Customers leaned in slightly, their curiosity palpable. I let the silence stretch, giving the weight of my words time to sink in. You think this is funny? I asked, stepping closer. You thought I'd just let it slide. But people don't forget, Greg. They talk, they see, and today everyone is watching. His hands shook now, a small but undeniable tremor. You're overreacting. No, I interrupted, cutting through his protest with sharp precision. I'm responding. I'm showing you that what you did has consequences. Not just to me, but to everyone who witnessed it. And trust me, they're not silent. He swallowed hard, voice barely audible. What are you? I smiled faintly, controlled, as the customers murmured again, their voices overlapping with the tension in the room. I'm someone who doesn't let injustice pass quietly, someone who won't be erased by arrogance and ignorance. That's who I am. And today, you're going to see it clearly. Greg took a step back, his confidence unraveling. I could see it in the tight set of his shoulders, the twitch of his fingers. You don't know what you're doing, he muttered, almost to himself. I do, I said, my voice steady, unwavering. Every move, every word, every witness, they all matter. You thought you had control, but control is an illusion when people are paying attention, when they see the truth. The whispers grew louder. Who is she? One woman asked her friend, eyes wide. I let the moment hang. Let the tension build. I didn't raise my voice, didn't shout. I didn't need to. My presence, my composure, my words, they were the real power. Greg swallowed again, visibly trembling. Now, I didn't mean you did mean, I said, cutting him off softly, but firmly. You meant every moment you assumed you could demean me, every second you thought my presence didn't matter. And now you'll see that assumption was your mistake. The murmurs of the crowd felt like electricity, amplifying the shift. In power, I let my eyes meet his, holding them there, calm but unyielding. I suggest you remember this, I added, letting the finality of my words settle in, because it won't be forgotten. Not by me, not by anyone who witnessed it, and certainly not by the people who will make sure you face the consequences. Greg's shoulders slumped slightly, the color draining from his face. For the first time, I saw doubt, fear, and realization flicker across him. My chest tightened, not with triumph, not yet, but with the knowledge that the first real shift had occurred. The room hummed with the undercurrent of whispered speculation. I turned my attention to the customers, letting them feel the truth. In my words, eyes followed me as I moved past the counter. Deliberate, precise, each step measured. Greg's voice was barely a whisper now, almost pleading. You can't, I can, I said quietly, firmly, letting every syllable carry the weight of all the times I had been dismissed, ignored, underestimated, and I will. The store had changed in that moment. The air itself seemed to acknowledge it. People were watching, listening, understanding. I felt it in their gazes, their hushed exclamations, the subtle nods of recognition. I had made my point, not with anger, not with loud accusations, but with presence, precision, and undeniable truth. Greg's smirk was gone. My chest rose and fell steadily. I was calm, I was unshakable, and everyone, especially him, knew that for the first time, the balance of power had shifted. I sank into the chair across from Derek, my fingers tapping lightly on the desk. So, what's the next step? I asked, keeping my voice steady despite the fire still burning inside me. Derek leaned back, rubbing his chin. First, we document everything. Every witness, every video, every comment. The more public it is, the stronger your case becomes. I nodded, glancing at my phone. Notifications had exploded overnight, videos, shares, comments flooding in. A notification pinged finally. Someone calls him out. I scrolled further. About time she showed him. I can't believe he did that. Thank you for standing up. Derek followed my gaze. The public's on your side, Amara. That gives you leverage but also responsibility. I let out a slow breath. Responsibility, yes. Revenge, no, I won't stoop to his level. But accountability, that's non-negotiable. He nodded. Good. When reporters come calling, stick to the facts. Don't get dragged into emotion. Facts, I repeated. Not outrage. Justice isn't about outrage, it's about accountability. The phone buzzed again. A reporter's email. How do you respond to public outrage over the incident? I typed quickly, my fingers steady. I appreciate the attention. But my focus isn't on outrage. My focus is on ensuring actions have consequences. Everyone deserves to know that harassment and violence aren't acceptable no matter who they are. Derek glanced at me, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Perfect calm, collected and firm. Exactly what you need right now. I leaned back, letting my mind sort through the messages and comments. I can't believe he hit her. She didn't flinch. She stood her ground. This is going to change things. Each message carried more than support. It was validation. A sign that the world was noticing, listening, weighing in. My chest tightened with a mix of pride and lingering anger. People are talking, I murmured. They're actually seeing to him for what he is. They are, Derek agreed. And that means your next move can be precise, not impulsive. You have witnesses, the law, and public opinion. You're untouchable if you stay strategic. I nodded, feeling the weight of it. Untouchable. Yes, but he needs to feel the pressure, too. He can't just hide behind his authority anymore. Another notification flashed. She's showing real strength. Finally someone exposes him. I smiled faintly, letting the warmth spread. Every share, every comment, it was all part of the shift I had started the day he slapped me. Derek's voice drew me back. We need to prepare for interviews, statements, everything. If he tries to deflect or intimidate, we're ready. I'm ready, I said firmly. Every word, every pause, every glance, it will show the truth. And I'll stay composed, calm, and unwavering. No theatrics, no anger-driven reactions. Just truth. Good, Derek said, leaning forward. You've turned the situation into your advantage. That's rare, and it's powerful. I felt a surge of satisfaction, not from revenge, but from control, knowing I could take the narrative, guide the story, and let justice play out on my terms. People are watching, I said, scrolling through the viral videos again. They see him, they see me, they see what's right and what's wrong. And when this ends, no one will doubt who had the strength and who had the arrogance. Derek smiled, nodding in approval. Exactly, and that's what makes the fallout work for you. Legal action, social validation, it's all aligned. I exhaled slowly, letting the tension drain slightly. Inside, the rage was still there, simmering, but now it had direction. Focus, purpose. Let's make sure every move counts, I said. Every comment, every post, every witness. We won't leave a single detail to chance. Derek nodded, resolute. Then we move forward, carefully, deliberately. You're not just surviving this, you're controlling it. I looked at my phone again, reading one comment after another. She's not afraid anymore. This is justice in action. And for the first time since the slap, I allowed myself a small, quiet smile. The world was watching and I was ready. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about accountability, about balance, about letting the arrogance of someone like Greg meet the weight of truth and ensuring it landed squarely where it belonged. I stood at the front of the staff room, letting my gaze sweep across the familiar faces of employees and Greg, who looked far too confident for what was about to happen. I let the silence stretch, letting them squirm just a little, letting tension build. I called this meeting because there's something important you all need to know, I began, voice steady. Greg leaned back in his chair, smirking. All right, let's hear it then. I held his gaze for a moment, letting the words hang in the air. I own this store. The room froze. A whisper escaped from the back. Wait, she owns it. Greg's smirk faltered. His hand twitched on the counter. I didn't know. I stepped closer, calm, composed. You didn't know, Greg, because you assumed authority was only yours to wield. You thought I was just another customer, another employee too. Dismissed, you assumed wrong. One employee murmured, oh my God, she really owns it. Yes, I said, letting the word sink in. And everything you thought gave you power over me. None of it mattered. Greg opened his mouth, then closed it. I didn't mean you did mean. I interrupted, my voice soft but cutting. Every moment you thought you could demean me, every second you assumed your position allowed you to belittle me, that was intentional. And today, it's revealed for everyone to see. Whispers rippled through the room. Wow, I can't believe it, he's gonna feel this. I turned my attention to the staff. You've all witnessed moments like that, times when arrogance overshadowed fairness. I'm here to tell you that respect isn't optional. It isn't something to be assumed. It's demanded by truth, not title. Greg's face was pale. Now, his voice quivered slightly. I thought you were untouchable, I said firmly. You assumed people wouldn't notice, wouldn't care, but every witness, every message, every whisper, it all counted. And it's all led us here. An employee whispered to another. I never imagined she'd have the power to do this, to be this composed. I let a small, controlled smile play on my lips. Composure is more powerful than intimidation, Greg. Words, actions, and truth, they carry weight. And you've just felt the first weight of yours, he stammered, trying to regain some control. I didn't realize. Yet you did, I said calmly. You just didn't think it would catch up with you. You didn't think anyone would see, but the moment you crossed the line, it matters. And today, the line has been crossed and the truth has been revealed. A murmur of agreement ran through the room. Employees exchanged glances, some nodding subtly, others whispering excitedly. I felt the shift in the energy. Greg was shrinking before the reality of his actions. You've underestimated me for years, I continued, voice unwavering. Today you've seen the cost of that assumption. I am not just a name, a customer, or a face you can dismiss. I am the one in charge, and from this moment forward, that will be impossible to ignore. Greg's shoulders slumped. His arrogance, once so solid, crumbled visibly. I didn't know, he repeated, more to himself than anyone else. You did know, I said softly, almost pitying him. You just chose to ignore it. But ignorance is no excuse for intentional cruelty. The room held its breath. Employees looked at him differently now, respect for me growing, doubt and shame for him spreading like wildfire. I glanced around, letting every word land. This isn't personal, I added. It's accountability, it's justice, and it's proof that power used carelessly, arrogantly, or cruelly always finds its reckoning. Greg swallowed hard. I understand. Yes, you will understand, I said, letting the quiet authority of my tone settle the room. And everyone here will remember it. Not just what happened, but who stood firm, who demanded truth, and who refused to be diminished. The whispers continued, softer now, more awed than ever. She actually owns it, and she's unshakable. I allowed the moment to stretch, letting them feel the balance had shifted completely. Greg could no longer claim dominance. He was exposed, humbled, and visibly shaken. From this day forward, I said, meeting his gaze one last time, every action, every word, every decision in this store will reflect fairness, respect, and truth. And that includes you, Greg. He nodded, silent, broken in a way that needed no further words. The room settled, the air charged with astonishment, validation, and a quiet sense of justice. I had revealed not just ownership, but authority, truth, and the power of composure. And in that moment, everyone including Greg knew the tables had turned. Greg stood behind the counter, shoulders tense, eyes darting nervously to every staff member and customer in the store. I approached slowly, heels clicking against the polished floor, letting the weight of my presence fill the room. Sorry, I didn't mean, he began, voice trembling. Your actions spoke louder than words, I interrupted, calm but sharp, letting my tone carry across the room. Every eye was on him, every ear attuned to my voice. A customer whispered, finally, someone holds him accountable. Another nodded, muttering, he deserves this. Greg's face paled. I didn't think you didn't think, I echoed, letting the disbelief in my tone hang in the air. You didn't think it mattered that hitting someone, humiliating them in front of witnesses, would have consequences? He swallowed hard, stumbling over his words. It was a mistake. Mistake, I asked, raising an eyebrow. A mistake is forgetting an appointment. This was deliberate. And now everyone here has seen it for what it is. Murmurs of agreement spread. He's shaking. One employee whispered, another added, she's so calm, it's perfect. Greg's hands tightened on the counter. I apologize, please. My apologies don't erase your arrogance, I said, stepping closer, maintaining eye contact. You assumed your position gave you power over me. That assumption is what's being corrected right now. A customer laughed softly, shaking her head. Can't believe he's squirming like that. Greg's voice faltered. I didn't mean to. I know exactly what you meant, I said firmly. And that's why your words are meaningless. Actions, Greg, actions reveal character. Your actions spoke, and now your humiliation is proof that arrogance always has a cost. The room felt heavier, charged with tension. Customers leaned in, whispers growing louder. She's not even raising her voice, and he's crumbling. Justice looks like this. Greg's knees seemed to wobble slightly as he attempted to regain composure. I can make it right. You can't undo what you did, I said, letting my voice remain calm but cutting. You can only face it. And facing it means acknowledging your failure, your cruelty, and letting the people around you witness it. That's what accountability looks like. One of the employees muttered, wow, she's taking control without even yelling. Another whispered, this is brilliant. He's completely exposed. Greg's lips trembled. I didn't know you knew enough, I replied softly, letting the weight of my gaze sink into him. You chose arrogance over respect. You chose cruelty over caution. And now, you are exposed. Publicly, morally, emotionally. You've lost power because you assumed it was yours to keep. The murmurs swelled. He's completely broken, a customer said under her breath. She's unstoppable. Greg's voice became almost inaudible. I understand. Yes, I said firmly, stepping back just slightly, letting the room feel the full measure of the shift. Understand that respect is earned, that arrogance has limits, and that people, staff, customers, witnesses will never forget how you chose to wield your authority. He nodded weakly, unable to form another sentence. His pride had collapsed, replaced by visible shame. I allowed the moment to linger, letting every employee, every customer witness the psychological weight of accountability landing squarely on him. From this day forward, I added, my tone deliberate and unwavering. Everyone in this store knows that power used to demean or intimidate carries consequences, not threats. not assumptions. Consequences. Greg's eyes dropped. The room was quiet now, charged with a collective understanding. Murmurs of support for me continued, small but resonant. I exhaled slowly, feeling the tension drain slightly. He had been humbled, his arrogance dismantled not with rage, but with calm assertion, moral authority, and the undeniable truth of his actions. And for the first time in that space, everyone, especially Greg, saw clearly that justice had its voice, and it had been speaking through me all along. I sank into the leather chair, letting the weight of the past few days settle around me. The adrenaline had faded, leaving a calm, almost surreal clarity. I wanted them to see me, not the color of my skin, I murmured, staring at the polished floor. Nia leaned forward, eyes bright with understanding, and they did. You made them feel what they couldn't ignore. Derek nodded, adjusting his glasses. Exactly. It wasn't just about authority or power, it was about truth. You showed them that their assumptions don't define reality. I let out a slow breath, remembering Greg's trembling voice, the whispers, the realization on every face in the store. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't yell, I just let the truth speak for itself. Nia smiled softly. And you kept your dignity intact. That's the part they can't take from you. No one can touch that. I thought about the moments in the store, every whisper, every glance, every silent acknowledgement of justice served. It was strange, almost liberating, to witness accountability without chaos, to see arrogance dismantled with calm resolve. Derek leaned back, folding his hands. You've transformed more than the store, Amara. People will remember today, not just the slap, but the way you reclaimed your narrative. That's powerful, I nodded, letting their words sink in. It wasn't just for me, it was for everyone who's ever been dismissed, ignored, or underestimated because of skin, gender, or assumptions. I wanted them to feel the weight of that truth. Nia reached over, lightly touching my hand. And you did. Quietly, firmly, without compromising who you are. That's real justice. I allowed a small smile, feeling the tension finally ease. The humiliation, the anger, the strategic plotting, it had all led to this moment of calm triumph. The store was no longer a place of fear or arrogance. It was a testament to integrity, resilience, and the quiet power of words spoken with intention. Derek tilted his head thoughtfully. Do you feel closure? I let the question linger, reflecting on the inner storm that had carried me here. Yes, because I acted with purpose, because I wasn't reacting, I was leading. And sometimes, that's the strongest kind of justice. Nia nodded. Then let's leave it there. You've done more than reclaim a story, you've reclaimed your story. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the quiet victory wash over me. No fanfare, no public spectacle, just the knowledge that truth, composure, and self-respect had spoken louder than any slap, any arrogance, any prejudice. And the world, I whispered to myself, will remember that too. The room was still, filled with the unspoken weight of triumph and the promise of forward motion. For the first time in a long while, I felt unshakable. The battle had ended, not with anger, but with dignity, reflection, and the enduring power of being seen for who I truly was. I walked through the store a week later, the air feeling different somehow. People moved with a subtle shift in posture, a quiet attentiveness I hadn't noticed before. One of the staff, a young cashier named Megan, approached nervously. I just wanted to say, I didn't realize how blind I was, she admitted, eyes downcast. I smiled softly, letting the words settle between us. Change begins when we speak truth, I replied, keeping my tone calm but firm. Another employee, Javier, stopped stacking shelves and looked at me. You showed us that actions matter more than titles, he said quietly, almost as if afraid to speak too loudly. Exactly, I said, nodding. It's easy to assume someone's place or power defines them, but real strength is in integrity and accountability. The customer lingered near the entrance, hesitating before saying, I just wanted to tell you, after what happened, I respect this store more. And you, of course. I gave a small nod. Respect isn't demanded. It's earned through honesty, courage, and consistency. That's what today and the past week has been about. I noticed subtle changes everywhere, staff helping each other with more care, listening without judgment, and speaking thoughtfully rather than dismissively. Even customers seemed more mindful, greeting staff with genuine warmth. One of the older employees whispered to another. She didn't need to yell or punish anyone. She just made them see. The other nodded, a small smile forming. I paused by the front counter, taking in the hum of the store. This is the echo of change, I murmured to myself. Small actions ripple outward. What seemed like a single moment of justice has begun to reshape the environment entirely. Megan approached again, more confidently this time. It's like the whole team has a new perspective. We're thinking differently, acting differently. I looked around, noticing nods and quiet acknowledgments from others. That's the point, I said. Justice isn't always about punishment, it's about transformation. People see truth, and they adjust. That's karmic justice in action, Javier added softly. We'll remember this. The way you handled it. Without anger, without threats, just strength and dignity. I let the words linger, feeling the weight of time and impact. Change wasn't immediate for everyone, but I could feel it growing, spreading in subtle, meaningful ways. A customer paused before leaving, glancing back. You've made this place better. Thank you. I nodded again, letting the acknowledgement sink in. Better comes from courage, awareness, and speaking truth when it matters most. That's all any of us can do. As I walked toward the exit, I noticed staff quietly helping each other, smiling more, listening more. Customers greeted them warmly, no longer ignoring anyone based on assumptions. I exhaled slowly, letting a sense of peace settle over me. The echoes of that one day, the slap, the confrontation, the reveal were still present, but now they carried something far greater: reflection, growth, and a quiet societal shift that no arrogance could ever undo. And as I stepped out of the store, I knew this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning of a lasting transformation.